So, for building devotion, we need faith. Faith is essential. And it's Swami's divine grace and will that the title of today's talk is Faith is Essential. So please allow me to introduce you to our guest speaker today. She is DR.Sridevi. DR.Sridevi feels privileged to have been born into a highly spiritual family. She came to Swami's fold at the age of 5 years old. Her first trip to Puttaparthi was at the age of 12 years when Swami called the entire family for an interview. She was able to have Swami's darshan, sparshan and sambharshan. Quite amazing grace. She's made several trips thereafter and has had the very good fortune to serve in Swami's hospital as well. She's served in the SAI organization as the education coordinator and vice president of the Arcadia SAI Center and is currently the president of the Arcadia Center. She is also on the SAI PREMA NILAYam Love and Wisdom Committee. DR.Sridevi is a pediatrician by profession. So let us please give a very warm SAI PREMA NILAYam.
My most humble pranams at the lotus feet of our dearest, beloved SAI Baba. Respected elders, brothers and sisters, Sairam to you all. So I would like to start today's talk with a very beautiful quote from Swami. Face all situations with faith. With faith, you can achieve anything. Without faith, you can achieve nothing. Therefore, develop faith. You can develop faith only by contemplating on God. So, today I wanted to just share how faith in my life and how essential, just as Brother Greg just mentioned, how essential faith is in all of our lives. And the first step in having faith is, especially for a spiritual seeker, is having faith there is a God and He exists. And why are we all here today? We are gathered because we all do believe not only that there is a God, but our beautiful Lord, Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba, He's not just our Guru, He is our God, and He has incarnated and walked on this earth. So a little background about myself. I was born into a very spiritual family, into a Sai family, and I attended it was called Bal Vikas back then, now it's called the SSE program, at the age of 5 years old. And most of my weekends and pretty much growing up was spent at some sort of a bhajan, a satsang, a temple. We had many spiritual people who visited from India. They would come visit our home. So this is pretty much how I grew up. And there's many of all of you sitting here today who know that because I grew up with all of you. And the first visit I took, though, to Puttaparthi was not until I was 12 years old. But by then, I had faith. I believed Baba was God. I heard so many stories, His amazing miracles. So I didn't have a doubt, okay, that Sri Satya Sai Baba is God. But when I made my first trip to Puttaparthi at 12 years old, that was our first trip, our first time seeing Him in His physical form, and our first interview. And the reason for that trip was my brother had visited Puttaparthi prior, and he asked Swami, can you do my bread ceremony? And Swami was extremely loving and kind. He agreed, and he said, call your family. So that is why we all took the trip, and then many relatives of mine from India also came, and we had our first interview. In the interview room, Swami did do the bread ceremony, and he was speaking to all of us, talking many things. He was laughing, he was joking. He joked so hard that tears were coming down his face because he was making, the jokes are in Telugu, and I won't do justice if I say it. You can ask my mom later, she'll tell you. But that's how beautiful this interview was. And somewhere in the interview, he did the famous waving of the hand, and a beautiful silver locket, it was a pendant, it fell. And he put it in the hand of my younger sister. And she was very innocent. She just looked at it and said, where's the chain? And then he took it back. He took it back, he blew on it, and there was a linkless chain that appeared through this locket. Remember, there's no hook. And he put it around her neck. And I've always heard Swami doing this. I saw some movies of this happening, but I was up close watching this, so it was an amazing experience. And of course I was next. He made for her first, and then I was next, so I knew I was going to be next. So I kind of sat up straight, and I was, waiting for my turn. And he was talking many things, but I didn't want him to forget, so I started scooting closer. And then he looked at me and said, I sent you a necklace through your friend. You just put it in the shelf and you left it there. And I was shocked. So the backstory to this, a few months prior to our trip, one of my friends went to Puttaparthi, and I told her, can you get me one of those Baba chains? It has Satya Sai Baba on one side, and it could be Shirdi Baba and Om, anything. Just pick something for me if you can. She remembered, she brought it back. I wore it for a few days, and exactly how Swami said, I took it off, I put it in my shelf, and I left it there. So when he said that, I was shocked. This was my very first trip seeing him. How did he know that? And and he said many things to the rest of my family members. So that trip, I can honestly say, strengthened not just my faith, but in my whole family, it strengthened our faith that Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba is truly God, and I witnessed his omniscience and his omnipresence. So after that trip, which was a lovely trip, we came back home to the US, and I was thinking seriously. I said, hey, we just had Swami's darshan. We saw him. We had his sparshan. We had Padnamaskar. We touched his beautiful feet. And we had one more thing, and I can't remember what it is, but it sounds like combustion. And that's all I could hear in my head was his darshan, sparshan, combustion. And I'm still 12 years old, and I'm trying to figure this out. I said, I've gone to so many of these talks, I can figure it out, but I always would forget that word. So then I asked my parents, what is that word? I'm not getting that third word. I knew the meaning. They said, no, not combustion. It's sambhashan. You're speaking. I said, yeah. So then I remember, I said, yes, you're right. It is sambhashan. So we had his darshan, we saw him, we touched him, we spoke with him. Many years later, which actually after Mahasamadhi, I was thinking of all of this, thinking of Swami, and I said, actually, when we seriously close our eyes and we think of Swami within us, we think of him, we imagine touching his feet in our hearts, in our minds, and that constant internal dialogue that we have. We're always talking to him, we're praying to him, we're always saying something to him. That is darshan, sparshan, sambhashan. And with true faith, true love, true devotion, if we do this, what does that lead to? It leads to combustion of our sins and our ego and our past karma. So whenever, when you're a kid and you get a word stuck in your head, it sticks. So whenever I hear these, I still think of that, but I think of it in a different way now. I think of him burning, my sins, my past karma, and my ego. So after that trip, we were blessed. We made many other trips to Puttaparthi, and after I finished my medical training, my residency, I really wanted to go to Puttaparthi, get Baba's blessings, because I will be coming back, starting my career. And I wanted to just have him, bless me. So luckily I was able to work in his hospital. And the way it works, you do a 2-week shift in the general hospital. And so I considered that my very first job, because I finished my training, I went to India, and I was able to work for 2 weeks. The doctors in the general hospital were absolutely amazing. They taught me how to treat, most of these are villagers, so how to treat them. They said, don't use big words with them, they don't understand. Be simple and be patient, they come with many different things, are coming from far. Treat them with love, treat them with patience, and use simple words. So I always remember that, so, not just for that practice there in India, but this is for me too, for my future practice. And they told me stories about how Swami used to come to the hospital, make surprise visits, and all these, beautiful stories. So I prayed to Swami really hard. I said, Swami, I really want you to come to the hospital. I want you to see me working in your hospital. I am always seeing you, but I want you to see me. Because after this, I'm going to go back home to the US, start my career, start my job, and I want you to work through me. And I need your blessings. So, one of the afternoon shifts, it was a morning shift and afternoon shift. So during one of the afternoon shifts, I was walking to the hospital. I had my lab coat and I had my stethoscope around my neck. And I was walking, and suddenly there was commotion. Oh, Swami's coming, Swami's coming. So the minute Swami comes, you have to move to the road, right? To one of the sides of the road so his car can come through. So I moved to the side, and of course the beautiful red car is coming. And of course it's only His grace I chose the side, or He made me choose the side, that He is sitting on. So He came, and He looked straight at me, and I had my lab coat, I had my stethoscope, so He knew what I'm doing. And He looked straight at me, smiled, and He put a blessing in. And I think that's the blessing that I wanted. And, coming back, to the U.S., every time I think of that, I think, Swami, you're only just working through me. So I always pray, I have that faith that you will always be with me, working through me. And, I just want to tell one more story before I conclude. And this is a cute story, and I've shared it with my Arcadia officers. I used to think that, Swami, I'm so fortunate. Thank you for allowing me to see you in your physical presence. Thank you for allowing me to come and serve you in your hospital. But I felt bad that, I have a little son, that he will never get that see you in your physical form. And not just him, all the children who are, that are little now, that they won't get that chance to experience the physical Swami. So, this thought used to come to my head. And last year in his school, the teacher told all the students, do a presentation on any holiday or function that you celebrate in your country of ancestry. So he chose Ugadi. Ugadi is the Telugu New Year, it's the Kannada New Year, and it's a very big festival for us. So he did his presentation on Ugadi, and then I asked him, after he came home from school, I said, how was it? How did you do? He said, oh, it went very well, but guess what? I said, what happened? He said, Baba came to my class today. I said, what do you mean Baba came to your class today? He said, yeah, he was in my class today. And so apparently, after every child does their presentation on whatever festival, the teacher plays a video on that festival for the rest of the class, and it explains the rest of the festival. So after he did his Ugadi festival, out of so many videos you can choose for Ugadi, she chose an Ugadi video from Puttaparthi with Baba blessing people, taking his letters, and there was a commentary going on at the back about Ugadi. And I said, Swami, you just reconfirmed, not only are you everywhere, you hear everything, you blessed not just my son, his whole class, his teacher, and you're paving the way for the future. These children are the future, and you are slowly showing your presence in their lives so that they may take over your work. And it was actually a great lesson for me because he said it so casually. And here I am thinking, okay, I know Swami is everywhere, I believe you that you're everywhere, but I'm still having that doubt, like, how are they going to get blessed? And you just proved that. So, my journey went from faith in God, who is in this big universe somewhere. Then I realized, yes, God is not that far. He's closer than that. He's in India. And then I realize now he is verily in me. He is in everybody. He is in everything. And I pray that we all have that faith and strengthen our faith to realize that he is everywhere and he can appear to us in any form, anytime. Sai Ram.